Hey guys, and welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. This week's show is going to be just a tad different than my usual content because I'm going to share some of my story with you and give you some of the best business advice that I have ever learned in my 30 plus, almost 35 years in the music business. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Do all the things you know you should do. It doesn't cost anything. My marketing people are always telling me 80% of the people that are watching your content is not subscribed to your YouTube channel. Come on, guys. Give me a hand here. Hit that like and subscribe and the notification bell. That way the video ranks higher with the algorithms and that kind of stuff, and people can find this content. And today's content specifically, I really think you're going to walk away from today, inspired and really feeling like, wow, dude, this guy is just got it going on, and this is what I need to do in my career path. Because what I'm going to share with you isn't necessarily directed right down the road, down the middle of the road of just music industry stuff. It can be applied to about any business perspective you want to look at. I am currently right now on my third rebuilding phase of my life. I just turned 51 years old. This version of CLP audio and staging has been in place. I guess this version of it has only been in place for about 3 years. CLP audio itself has been in place for about 8 years, 9 years, something like that. And then before that, it was Christ-like Productions. That's what CLP stands for. People ask me that all the time, what CLP stands for. My company started out as a church production install company when I had come off the road back in the mid-90s. And that was the first rebuilding phase of my life. I had a production company. I was freelancing on the road, pretty steadily. Was really just creating those multiple streams of income that you guys always hear me harping on about when you're trying to make it in the music business. You have to have multiple streams of income. And, after about a 3 or 4 year stint of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, I just kind of got to a place in my life where I was definitely ready for a change. And I did. I made a radical change. So I completely walked away from the touring market and the whole being on the road thing. Got really serious about being a Christian, and got plugged into church production and just completely overhauled. That was the original inception of Christ-like Productions, and just completely overhauled my whole perspective on life and what I was doing. I went and got a day job. I used to be a truck driver. I drove concrete trucks for a long time, concrete mixers, the kind of stuff delivers concrete to your house when you want to pour a patio or a sidewalk or do the basement of your house or something. And then I drove a tractor and trailer for a long time after that. I did that while my kids were young and worked part-time as a staff employee for multiple churches and that sort of thing. Really was a kind of boot camp, part of my life, learning how to work the business end of the production industry. I grew by leaps and bounds during those years. I did a lot of install work and that sort of thing. So that was the first time that I had kind of just lost everything. I had to start over again. It happened again after my second divorce. I have been divorced 3 times. That's had all its own challenges, and I've had to start over in my personal life 3 times just with that stuff. But and I'm not sharing any of this stuff to make you feel sorry for me or anything like that. Man, God's been good to me, and I have, rose above all that stuff, and I'm in a position of my life right now where I'm happier than I've probably ever been. So that kind of was what it was. And after my second divorce, I lost my house and pretty much sold everything that I had, and was really just living in a small apartment, and just completely starting everything all over again. So, all I had was my skill set to fall back on. I was working part-time as a truck driver at that time. And then, just started doing walk-in freelance stuff. I walked away from church production as I kind of had my fill of that, and really needed to be in a market that was a little more lucrative financially and that sort of thing. So I left and got into the secular market again, and started working for a traveling corporate band. Was a sound engineer for them, was freelancing for some other companies, was working, during that time for a pro touring company as a freelance guy, and then got in at a house gig, and I kind of sat there for 5 years while I was trying to rebuild. So this is, this inception when I left that house gig and really got serious about doing full-time production again, which I've been full-time in production for about 10 years right now, 12 years, somewhere in that ballpark. But when I left that house gig, I'm like, here we are. This is going to be my third go-around. Now, I'll tell you all this to say this. And, there's a bazillion rags to riches stories out there, and I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a very small production company, but I'm very comfortable financially. I'll put it that way, for the most part. And, because this business is so expensive to run, you can't pay attention to the numbers. The numbers look ridiculous on paper, but what actually pans out in your life is much more conservative, because it just takes a lot of money to keep up with, this business. So, my point to all this is never give up. Never give up. I have dealt with all my own laundry lists of psychological issues from all this stuff. I had a really rough childhood. I was abused as a kid and stuff like that, and really grew up in a very, very tough, environment as a kid. And then 3 divorces on top of that. I have every reason, justifiable reason, to just kind of melt down and, get on disability and just, whatever. I really, and I say that I kind of chuckle a little, but because there was a time in my life where I really thought I was going to have to do that. There was a time in my life where I was so paralyzed by panic attacks and anxiety issues that, I actually filled out the disability paperwork, and really thought that, man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to function, on a walk-in freelance kind of level, just doing sound from night to night. It was on a complete roller coaster of psychotropic drugs, from the doctor trying to get me settled down and trying to get a hold of what was going on with me. And nothing worked. All the antidepressants gave me heart palpitations. So I was having a lot of issues with that. None of that worked. Really the thing that got me straight more than anything else was just really, really good Christian counseling. And I also got involved in a 12-step recovery program that was instrumental in getting my life together and getting my head screwed on right. I never thought in a million years I would have the level of satisfaction in my life that I have right now. Like it's just like this kind of stuff just happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. I just got the worst luck in the world. I'm always in the loser category. I'm always going to, be that way. I just was sold out to that whole toxic way of thinking. I was surrounded by toxic people. Some of my friends were toxic. The women that I was with were toxic. I didn't have very supportive parents. And I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me about all this. This was just the reality of my life, Like every time I took a step forward, I just seemed like I got beat 6 steps back, And man, that was very, very hard to try to navigate through. And then to, jump out in January of 2020 and make CLP audio, turn that into CLP audio and staging. And then 3 months later, COVID happened and kind of just knocked the wind out of all of us in the industry. Spent 3 or 4 months really literally doing nothing in the music business. I think I went back to work for a truck driving place I used to work for just part-time to have some kind of money coming in during the COVID stuff. But yeah, man, and then went through my third divorce in September of 2020. It was like 2020 is just a year that keeps on giving. You know what I'm saying, man? It was so hard. But I just refused to give up, man. I refuse to, question the gifts and the talents that God has given me. I'm a very creative person, as you guys can see. Stuff just pours out of me constantly. I write for a recovery blog. I'm very active in an online recovery ministry as well. I've taught. I do Christian counseling, as a lay volunteer. Have been doing that for 11 years now. And I've had every reason to, just say I give up. That's the point. That's the point of telling you all that, is that I had a counselor one time. Let me put it to you this way. I had a counselor one time that had, it was a new counselor I was going to. This is really during the last batch of really bad panic attacks I had in probably 2018. I think I had about a 3-month period where it just was panic attacks every 20 minutes, man. I just could not seem to get myself straightened out. And I was going to this new counselor, and he asked me to write out, kind of my testimony or my story and email that to him so he can read that and prepare for our first session. And when I did that, I showed up at the first session, and he was like, man, I'm reading your story here, and any one of the things that you have been through could be something that you could be hung up on and completely unfunctional, non-functional because of that one thing. You have dozens of them in your life. The things that have happened to you, the abuse that you've dealt with, the absolute abandonment that you've had to deal with, and things like that. He goes, you're a walking miracle. He goes, I can't believe you're as functional as what you are. So this counselor was kind of just sharing with me, basically told me that, I need to be proud of, what I have overcome. And this guy was really instrumental in helping me get through some things and to be able to get some stuff off my chest. And that really is how I got to a place of functionality, was just through really good Christian counseling and my relationship with Jesus Christ. I can't tell this story without sharing that as well. And I'm not going to preach at you guys, because I know a lot of you guys may believe other things or whatever, but I unapologetically believe in the power of the cross, and that is who I am. It's at the core of who I am. I'm a horrible example of that a lot of times. Definitely have a trailer park mouth sometimes, and that's not good. But at the same time, man, if it wasn't for my faith, I don't think I would have ever made it through that dark carnival of my life, just lost in the forest of, anxiety and panic and, just nutso stuff. But I just never gave up, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never allowed the enemy to convince me that I had no value. Even though I felt that way, I just continued to keep pushing forward. I continued to just be super smart with my money, to the best of my ability, really take advantage of every opportunity, really, hone in the gifts and the talents that were laying right in front of me. And there came a point, I can just remember being in a show one time and just kind of like up against the wall with a bunch of stress and anxiety at the show, and just like it was trying to convince me that I wasn't good enough to do what was setting in front of me to do. And it was like, I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit or if it was just God speaking to me or whatever it was, but he's like, you have got to believe in your gifts that I've given you the same way I do. And honestly, JR, this is like God talking to me, like, honestly, the way other people see you as well. Because if you talk to any of my clients, I've got a pretty good rapport that way, and I'm not, trying to puff myself up and say that I'm all that. Believe me, there's a whole lot of other sound engineers out there that are way further up the ladder than what I am. But I do know what I'm capable of, and I'm confident in that. And I think we all need to be confident in that. I think that's the only pathway, to success, is believing in that. And, no matter how many times you get knocked down. And believe me, I've been knocked down so many times, it was like I'm more familiar. There was a point in my life where I was more familiar with having my face on the mat of being knocked down than when I was standing up, but I just didn't give up. I kept on pushing forward. I kept on believing in my gifts, believing in my talents, putting myself at the door of opportunity. I worked really, really hard. And I mean, still do. I can't stress that enough. That's the thing that a lot of these young guys don't get. They're so lost in this entitlement mentality. It's like they want to be me, but like, look, dude, you might want to be me, but you don't want to walk the road that it took for me to get where I am. Because there's been some long, hard lessons that I've had to learn along the way. And those lessons aren't easy, man. And they come with a cost. It's either going to cost you your time, or it's going to cost you your psychological health, because you're in toxic situations and high stress situations and, things like that. Nothing comes free to anybody. And I have always been a proponent of that. One thing my father taught me was really good work etiquette, so I'm someone who will be the first guy on the job and the last guy to leave. You can ask my clients. I'm always early. I'm always not afraid to stay late. I will do whatever it takes. If doing it the hard way means doing it the right way, I'm always going to be that guy that's going to step up to the bat, pull up my sleeves and say, all right, well, this is going to suck, but let's do this, because it's the correct way of doing it. I'm always trying to work smarter and not harder. Don't get me wrong. Let's try and, keep our heads on our shoulders and be intelligent about what we do and try to be efficient about what we do. But if we're staring in the face of something that's just going to suck to do it right, well, then you know what? Suck it up, buttercup. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. It's just how I'm wired. I don't know how to do things any other way. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, and I give 150% in everything that I do. So, I'm sharing all this and letting you into my creepy little world here, to say, don't give up, man. No matter who's telling you that you can't do it, don't listen to that trash. Don't listen to all the naysayers, the haters. And sometimes them people come from inside your circle, man. Sometimes those people are your family. Sometimes those people are so-called friends that have, had your back, for years and years and years. And then you wake up one day and you realize, well, the only way they have my back is when I'm providing some kind of service for them. When's the last time they were my cheerleader? When's the last time that they looked at my life and, made me feel like I should be proud of the accomplishments that I'm making? Surround yourself with those kind of people. And I have made some real hard cuts with people just in the last year because of that exact, reason in my life. It's like, I want to be surrounded by people who are going to celebrate my accomplishments and, weep with me when I'm suffering and, help me be a better person. And I want to reciprocate all those things back. I'm a great friend that way. I always have been, so it's never been about me not giving to them, because I always give to the 10th degree. I don't hesitate. That's just who I am. But, if you got people around you that's, constantly being passively negative to you, like when you tell them about some accomplishment you've made and they respond with, well, that's all fine and good as long as the work's there. But the world's coming to an end, man. Society's, coming. You better, pay off all your debt and make sure that you got no, you're really ready to weather the storm of what's coming and all this kind of stuff. Like these doomsday people, man, that never have anything positive to say. Like their whole outlook on life is negative. You got to get those people out of your life, man. And you got to get in a position where you're surrounded by people who celebrate your accomplishments and you do the same to them. It's reciprocal. I'm not saying I need to be praised and all that kind of stuff or whatever. No, it just needs to be a reciprocal relationship with people who are sowing healthy stuff into your life instead of toxic stuff. And many people will do that with some creepy candy coating of love and accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll slip all their toxic stuff right underneath the umbrella of that they love you and they validate you and blah, blah, blah. When really they don't. And the second you walk away, they're talking trash about you. I'm just done with that, man. I'm just done with that, And I got to a place in my life where it was like, I can't let this be part of my world anymore. You know, I'm not saying that we can't be distant friends or business acquaintances. That's all fine and good. If I got to work with you, man, it's fine. It's good. You know, I'm a professional. I'm not going to bring personal stuff to the table when we got to work together. But at the same time, I've got to do what's right for me. And, you know, part of being successful in the music business is believing you can do it, first of all, and then going out there and putting the rubber to the road and actually making it happen. So that's kind of the message this week, guys. You know, is like, don't give up. You know, I'm 51 years old. I look back and I'm like, man, if I was where I am right now when I was 31, gosh, man, I could really, do some awesome stuff, But at 51, I'm very much in tune with the fact that, I'm not going to make business decisions at 51 that I would have made at 31 because of the risk factor. And I'm trying to prepare for retirement now in my 50s. I'm trying to position my company and make decisions that are going to set up an income that will sustain me through my retirement years. Where I can send staff out on jobs, I can send staff out on stage rentals and things like that and whatever, and move forward. So it's about having a plan and then executing that plan correctly. And, when life comes along and kicks you in the teeth and knocks you down, you get up and you keep on fighting, man. You just do. Listen, guys, I appreciate every one of you all that made it to the end of this video. I know it's a long video, but it's something that's been on my heart for a while. It's something I've really wanted to share with you guys. I get tons of people that come to me all the time wanting to know how to get where I am. And the bad news is that it's not an easy road. It's not going to be any easy way to get there. It's going to be full of blood, sweat, and tears. It's going to be full of suffering. It's going to be full of hard times. But if you persevere and you're consistent in what you're trying to do, you will find success. You will, I promise you. And look, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because what I told you about my world is only enough to fill a thimble of the junk that I've been through in my life and the things that I've had to overcome to get where I am now. Don't give up on you. You believe in you with everything you have. I'll see you next week, guys.